You're listening to Plants and Politics with Gina Bonanno Lemos. If you're ready to hear the truth about both sides of the aisle, what's really going on in America, and how big money interests prevent change to keep you sick, broke, and desperate, then play on. Hello, guys. Welcome to Plants and Politics. This is Gina. So, an article came out on Healthcare Finance News, and it's titled "Medicaid Expansion Has Led to Earlier Cancer Detection Among Individuals with Low Incomes." So that's it. That's all I have to say. I'm just kidding. Okay, so just to give you guys a little bit of the backstory, if you aren't aware, from 2011 to 2013, the government expanded Medicaid. So this was part of the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, and it was extended to all low-income individuals with incomes. This is as of 2019, I should say. So low-income individuals with incomes at or below 138% of the poverty level. So to give you an example, an individual with an income of $17,236 or less would have qualified for Medicaid. So this was government health insurance offered to people with this income level or below. What it originally was intended for was to be a national program, right? So Obama, his administration, they wanted this to be nationwide. However, it was taken to court. Supreme Court ruled in 2012 that they weren't going to allow that to happen. So basically, the Supreme Court gave the rights to the states to decide. So each individual state and their government got to decide if, in fact, they wanted to expand Medicare or Medicaid coverage. So as of January of this year, 2020, 14 states had not expanded their Medicaid program. This is actually costing people's lives. And here's why, and this is what this whole article was about. People with low income who were diagnosed after the Medicaid expansion, what they found is that they had a 15% better chance of catching the cancer, of catching the diagnosis before it had metastasized to other parts of the body. So in other words, they had a 15% lower chance of having metastatic cancer as compared to people who were diagnosed before the expansion. So the reason for this, of course, is because if people have coverage that they can afford or that's free, once they start having symptoms, they're going to go to the doctor. They're also going to go in, and this is what they found, for preventative services. So they're going to go in and get colonoscopies, and they're going to get breast exams, and they're going to get pap smears every year. But if you don't have insurance and you know that you can't even afford to put food on the table, you're not going to go in and get those tests. So this is why it's so important that we have Medicare for all, because this clearly shows that people have a better chance of survival if they can get in to see the doctor on time. Now, they thought, okay, what if this is like an anomaly, right? What if this is just this group of people, it's just a coincidence? So what they did was they did a separate analysis, and they looked at people who were from higher income communities and people who had their own private health insurance. And they compared their rates of diagnosis with metastatic cancer pre-expansion, pre-Medicaid expansion, to post-Medicaid expansion. And what they found was the findings were insignificant, meaning that the rates of detection and the rates of diagnosis for those people before the Medicaid expansion and after the Medicaid expansion didn't really change. There was no difference. So clearly, it didn't affect them because they had their own private insurance. So it was all the same. It was the same for them before, it was the same for them after. So what they discovered too, in addition to the fact that having this Medicaid coverage played a big role in preventative services for cancer screening, it also was very important and relevant with the pandemic that we're currently living through. So they found that, this Medicaid expansion, this Medicaid coverage actually helped to get people in to be diagnosed and treated earlier than they would have if they had no insurance. So that obviously is going to keep it from not only affecting those people directly, but everyone around them, right? I mean, how many people are walking around with the COVID virus? Some of them do have symptoms, but they don't have insurance. So they don't go to the doctor. They try to just treat it like a typical cold or a flu. They don't want to go in and get hit with a huge bill to find out if it's something more serious. So oftentimes they're putting it off until they literally can't. So this is super important, especially right now, because in February of this year, Donald Trump actually proposed a huge budget cut. He wanted to cut $4.8 trillion from the budget, and a great deal of that would have come from Medicaid. And then to add insult to injury, we've got how many millions of people? I think we're up to 50 million people overall who have filed for unemployment benefits. Now, some of them are back at work because things have started to open. But overall, since the beginning of this, about 50 million people, is my understanding, have filed for unemployment. They've all lost their insurance. You don't just lose your job when we have a system like this. You also lose your insurance. And nobody can afford COBRA. Unless you're making several $100,000 a year, COBRA is completely unaffordable. So, as I said, to add injury to insult, in June, so just a month ago, the Trump administration filed a brief, and they're asking the Supreme Court to invalidate the ACA. So they want to completely shut down, dismantle, and eliminate Obamacare completely and altogether. That would result in millions upon millions of Americans losing their coverage, especially because of pre-existing conditions. I mean, insurance companies can just set the rules if we don't have the ACA. So they can say, oh, you had cancer in the past? Nope, sorry, can't insure you. Or what they can do is what they've always done, is jack up the rate so high that you can't afford it anyway. So even if you're eligible and they don't say just flat out, oh no, we don't want you because you have a pre-existing condition, they can make the barrier so high and so thick that you'll never get through. You'll never be able to afford it. It's unbelievable. Now, on top of all that, before even this COVID issue, we had more than 2 million people, 2 million poor people in this country who fell into what they call a coverage gap. And so this is the result, they say, of states who decided not to expand Medicaid. So that means that their income is above the current Medicaid eligibility, but it's below the lower limit for the marketplace tax credits. So they can't get ACA coverage because they don't qualify, and they can't get Medicaid coverage because they don't qualify. So they're uninsured. So even before all this, even before 50 million Americans filed for unemployment, we had already over 2 million people who are really at risk because of their poverty level who couldn't get insurance. So these are the states, just so you guys know, these are the states who would be eligible for Medicaid if they would just take the help. But of course they won't, because they keep saying that it's about national debt. Now, when it comes to handing out trillions of dollars to their corporate buddies, to their corporate masters who pump their campaigns full of cash, oh, they're fine with that. We can bail out Wall Street every damn day. We can just fill their coffers with taxpayer dollars. That's totally fine. But when it comes to expanding healthcare coverage, so the most poor in this country, the people who are most at risk, children living in poverty can have health insurance and actually get the care they need, oh no, that's a bridge too far. It's complete bullshit. It's absolutely so vile. I just can't even believe it. But here's the states, and as you're going to notice, most of them are considered to be red states. Is that a coincidence? So here they are: Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Kansas, Mississippi, Missouri, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. Now, it's important to note that Texas is actually one of the biggest. They have over 1.5 million people in their state who are currently ineligible for Medicaid coverage. But if they would just take the expansion, if they would just take the federal dollars, over 1.5 million more people in Texas would be eligible for it. So keep that in mind. If you're in one of these states and you end up, God forbid, with a life-threatening disease or illness and you don't have insurance, you can thank your government. You can thank your state government for that, because they could easily take these federal dollars, do what's right for you, and get you and your family coverage, and you wouldn't have to pay a penny. But instead, they'd rather give it to their billionaire buddies because you're not the one funding their campaign. It's sick. It's a sick, sick system that we have, and in many ways. This is why, guys, Planned Parenthood is so important. People like to really harp on the abortion aspect of Planned Parenthood, but that's only a small fraction of what they do. One of the things that they do more than anything is cancer screening. So for low income or no income women, they do a lot of breast cancer screenings. So it's really vital that we keep them open, because they're really standing in the gap for a lot of people who have no health insurance. So anyway, good news for the people who got the Medicaid expansion. Happy for them that they got those screenings early on, and they were able to get a diagnosis and treatment earlier than they would have. But these other states, it's just pathetic. It really is. There's just no logical or moral excuse for it. It's unconscionable. As always, guys, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will talk to you soon. Take care. Thanks for listening to Plants and Politics. The only way we can take our country and power back is to spread the truth and build an army. So remember to like, follow, subscribe, and share on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks again.